and start. I think we have a few other people who are going to pop in as we go.
I invited a friend.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Michael, so great. All right. Well, welcome everybody to what I am calling Life Coaching Demystified. I was talking to my teenagers about this last night, and they were like, "That's a terrible name, Mom. What does demystified mean?" Teenagers are so supportive and make you feel good about everything you do, don't they? Well, what it means is, what is life coaching? Let's take the mystery out of it and talk about it together. So this is the agenda that we are going to be looking at during our time together. I will give everybody a moment just to glance down through all of these bullet points to see the things that we're going to cover during this time. And before we go any further, though, I'm going to drop into chat a document, a Google Doc. If anyone is interested in a free coaching session, that is where you can sign up for it. And the QR code that you see there on your screen, if you open up your camera and point it at the screen, it will take you to my link tree, which looks something like that. You can also sign up for a coaching session there. There's the link to the session that we're in now, other information about my coaching practice, as well as opportunities to follow me on TikTok or Instagram if you want to see videos that teach more about positive psychology and coaching. And I'll be dropping that document a few more times for people who come in and don't get to see it there in the chat, but feel free to take advantage of those while they're on the screen. And without further ado, let's jump in and talk about what is life coaching. What do we mean when we say that? Well, the International Coaching Federation, which is ICF for short, this is the governing body over the field of professional coaching. And the truth is, right now, you do not have to be certified to call yourself a coach. It's a little bit of a Wild West situation we've got happening here right now. And eventually, I'm sure there will be more rules and regulations in place, but right now, anybody can just call themselves a coach. However, the ICF has training that they approve, and you can get certified with the ICF if you have a certain number of training hours, professional hours, as well as passing some tests as well. Now, I know there are some wonderful coaches out there who don't have this training. However, it is kind of a security measure. If you start looking for a coach, you want to make sure you're finding someone who has some kind of training, and the ICF is the big wig. So how do they define coaching? The ICF defines it as partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. So there are a few words in there that I want to highlight. The first one is partnering. To me, this is a really important word because partnering speaks to equality. This is not a top-down relationship. I don't give advice. In fact, coaches avoid giving advice. It's a partnership. And we are partnering to do what? To make a creative process that will help you reach your goals, to get you from where you are to where you want to be. That's what coaching is. Therapist is there to say why. Why are you going through this? Let's figure out the things that got you to this point. And coaches say, what next? Now, here's the thing. I am not at all disparaging therapy. I love therapy. I would go every week for the rest of my life if I could. But therapy serves a very specific purpose. Therapy is there when something is wrong. If you're depressed, or if you're anxious, or if you've gone through a traumatic event, that's the role a therapist can play in your life. On the other hand, coaching is after you've done your work with the therapist and you've got to that neutral space and you're like, nobody wants to stay at neutral. What's next? How do I get to the good stuff? Coaching can help you get there. So let's talk a little bit about illness and wellness. You see that neutral point there on the screen. I want to point out that whether we're talking about physical health or mental health, this neutral point, just because you don't have COVID doesn't mean you're not healthy, doesn't mean you're healthy. Just because you're not depressed doesn't mean you're happy. So a neutral point just means exactly what it says. It's neutral. So I'm going to talk you through this, giving an example from physical health. So let's say you have the first signs of a cold. There's a little tickle in your throat and you're thinking, oh, that's not good. That then develops into some other symptoms. You have a stuffy nose, you may be coughing or sneezing, and you're like, oh, I definitely have a cold. If it continues to develop, you might get into the space where you have a fever, can't get out of bed. You might get into pneumonia or something like that, but you are debilitated for the moment. Then as you start to recover, it kind of reverses itself. Your symptoms get less and less until they're just little signs. And then you get back to that neutral space. Okay, I'm not sick, but I don't feel great. So then you think, okay, what do I need to do to be a physically healthy person, right? Well, it starts with awareness. I'm aware that I don't want to just stay in the not sick place. So I'm going to get some education. I'm going to learn about the power that sleep plays in my life. I'm going to understand what I need to do to exercise my body, how I need to eat. Are there any supplements that I need to take? But that's not enough, right? Once we have the knowledge, it's actually employing that knowledge that helps us to grow. If we were to look at this from a mental health perspective, we would think when we're on this side of things, this is where we need therapy. This is where therapy can be a game changer. I know it has been for me, to get you out of a struggling point and into a neutral point. Coaching is the thing that can take you from that neutral point into a flourishing life. So what is positive psychology-based coaching? How is it going to be any different? Well, first, let's define positive psychology. As you can see here on the screen, positive psychology is the scientific study of optimal human functioning. It aims to discover and promote the factors that allow individuals and communities to thrive. A few things I want to point out in this definition. First, positive psychology is scientific. This isn't just like, think happy thoughts, never let anything bad come into your mind, because that's not positive, that's toxic, right? This is actually the scientific study of what it takes to live a flourishing life. Dr. Martin Seligman, who is one of the founding fathers of positive psychology, he is pictured here in this photograph, and he is pictured with my teacher, Emilia Javodovskaya. So Dr. Martin Seligman taught her, and then she taught me, lucky me, all about positive psychology and how it can apply to our lives and improve them. So when we think of positive psychology, think of going north of neutral. I love that phrase. Like, again, neutral isn't where we want to stay. If we're below neutral, we need to seek therapy and counseling. Once we get up to that neutral space, positive psychology can help us get further. And Dr. Martin Seligman says coaching is one of the best applications of positive psychology. As therapy is to traditional psychology, coaching is to positive psychology. They go hand in hand. And I wanted to share, anybody who has a question, please feel free, just unmute. You can raise your hand, but also just feel free to unmute your mic and ask any questions that might come up. This is from Forbes magazine in 2018, and it's talking about coaching and forecasting over the next decade. One of the trends that they defined was an increased focus on positive psychology because, as they say here, positive psychology is the scientific study of what's right about what makes people thrive and flourish. And they were predicting, over the next few years, people are really going to want scientific-based things that they can incorporate into their life to help them thrive. And coaching in positive psychology can help with that. Another trend they forecast is that working with a coach will be the norm, and that executive coaching isn't just for the elite. I love this last sentence. Coaching will no longer be viewed as something that's only available to the executive level. Everybody wants to flourish. Everybody wants to go as far as we can in our lives, and coaching is one way that we can get there. So coaching is definitely a growing industry. To become a coach, nothing like a pandemic application that my internet is unstable. Please just internet. There's nothing like a pandemic to make us all reevaluate our lives, right? It's one thing that the peers have gifted us is we all took a moment to say, where am I? What path am I heading down? And is this actually what I want? And with that pause, a lot of us have decided maybe not so much. Therefore, coaching is a growing industry. A lot of people are deciding to make changes. However, at this point, it is still quite a misunderstood industry as well. You know, if you tell someone you're a basketball coach, people generally know what you do. If you tell someone, oh, I'm a life coach, it's a little more blurry. And not only is it blurry, but there are actually some misconceptions out there. And I'm going to try to clear a few of those up. And I'm going to do that with this article written by Mr. Rick Cormier at Harvard. And I'm just going to take a moment and actually read this letter out loud to you, and then we're going to talk about it on the other side. Coaching, misunderstood. That's not his title, that's mine. Technically, a hairdresser could call herself a follicle therapist without breaking any laws. We live in a world with physical therapists and with massage therapists. A sewer worker could choose to call himself a wastewater therapist. Those of us who are trained and licensed to treat mental illness independently have much more impressive titles. I choose to use the term psychotherapist because it makes people instantly understand what it is I do. Today, we have self-proclaimed coaches. It's a risky area because you don't even need a high school diploma to call yourself a life coach. You need no education or experience in treating mental illness. A life coach is sort of a paid friend who dispenses armchair wisdom for money. Lots of life coaches in the US have wished they had stayed at McDonald's after encountering people with actual serious mental illness they had no idea how to handle. Anyone can proclaim themselves a therapist, counselor, or life coach, but it's a tricky area when you lead strangers to believe that you know how to cure mental illness. So in my opinion, Mr. Cormier, he goes far beyond a misunderstanding, and this is an attack. Like, he's a little bit triggered here, wouldn't you say? So just to clear up a few things, first of all, he's right about this. Right now, it's still the Wild West as far as coaching is concerned. And really, he's right that anybody can call themselves a life coach. However, it would be completely unethical and immoral for a coach to try to treat someone who has mental illness. In fact, the International Coaching Federation has an entire ethics portion of our training that we go through. We have to pass an ethics test. And a big part of that is knowing what to do if someone does come to you and actually needs treating that you are not qualified to give. And the answer is you refer that person to a therapist. So while he does bring up a point that perhaps this is an area that as time goes by is going to become more regulated. Right now it's not. However, no matter what, it's just completely outside of my own personal morals and ethics to ever try to treat somebody with a mental illness. And with the training, the rigorous training that the ICF puts you through, you know, you're getting trained to be much more than what he calls a paid friend. I find that really quite insulting. Because the fact of the matter is, as I said earlier, a coach does not give advice. We are trained to avoid giving advice. This is not a top-down relationship. This is a relationship of equals. And I like to operate from the thought that my client is already whole. You're not broken. I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to come alongside and coach you into living your best life. So thank you for your words, Mr. Cormier. I don't know how you pronounce your name, Harvard University, but you got triggered with the wrong information. Thank you very much for your time. So what does make coaching unique? You know, there are a lot of other approaches. We have medical therapists, medical professionals, therapists, psychiatrists, counselors, teachers. All of those do operate from that top-down approach, right? Oh, I see someone has said something in chat, so I'm going to pause. Jennifer is telling me that I am breaking up. Boo! I hope that that's getting fixed because I don't know what to do about that. All right, jumping back in. All of the people you see on the screen, those are top-down relationships, right? A teacher is here to show us things we don't know. A counselor, a therapist is here to help us get up to that neutral space. So how is coaching different? Coaching actually borrows from two established fields. One is consulting and one is therapy. And you can see there on the graphic on the screen how coaching is kind of right there in the middle. And it kind of is differentiated by the things you see down the middle there. This is from the Harvard Business Review in 2009. So if you want to take a moment, look through these things, you can see how it's different from consulting and it's different from therapy, but also borrows from both of those fields. In coaching, the mindset is that of equals. It's not a top down, I'm here to teach you things, I'm here to give you advice, I'm above you. It really is a partnership. And I think this graphic defines that very well, that we are here to work on things to help you flourish in your life. I'm not an expert on your life. You are an expert on your life. Coaches are expert on the field of coaching, and we come alongside clients who are experts on their own life, and we help them to flourish. This is a great graphic that really defines what the client-coach relationship looks like, and you can see the foundation there. The foundation is truth, honesty, respect, commitment, and confidentiality. That has to be the basis. You can see that the client is already whole, resourceful, creative, accountable, responsible for the agenda. They decide what it is that we're going to talk about. The coach is coming along as a catalyst, a non-judgmental mirror without a filter, supportive, motivator. And the client establishes self-awareness, clarity, purpose, and balance so that they can accomplish the things that they want to accomplish in their lives. I think that my favorite way of representing this is the Japanese Enso circle. And this circle represents the oneness of life, the spirit of harmonious cooperation, wholeness, fullness, completion. You already have everything that you need. That little phrase down there at the bottom, everything that I need is all that I have, and everything that I have is all that I need. And I believe that about my clients as well. Everything that you need is all that you have. Everything that you have is all that you need. Again, it's not a top down, it's operating from the knowledge that we are already both whole. And now we can move in this spirit of harmonious cooperation. So once again, I'm going to take a moment and pause, drop into chat the ability, there you go, to sign up for a free coaching session. So anybody who wasn't here at the very beginning, oops, I think I just sent that to Jessica. Let me try that again. There we go. Good, Jennifer. If you weren't here at the beginning, there's a document I just dropped into chat. You can use that link to take you to a place where you can sign up for a free coaching session only during this session. Once I've ended this, I'm going to take that link away. So if you are interested in that, please fill out your information. You can also use my QR code there to take you to my link tree. From there, you can also access the ability to sign up for a free coaching session, as well as other links that will allow you to follow me and learn more about positive psychology and coaching. So let's talk for a minute about why coaching works, why this is something that everybody is wanting to use in their lives. Why is this such a powerful tool? I have a quote here on the screen from our friend Blaise Pascal. People are generally better persuaded by the reasons which they themselves discovered than those which have come into the minds of others. In other words, if you come up with your solution, you're much more likely to buy into it than if other people come to you and say, here's what I think you should do. I think it's human nature just to hear that and be like, you don't know my life, right? But when we come up with the ideas ourselves, we're much more likely to try those out. So we operate in positive psychology coaching from something called self-determination theory. So what is it? Self-determination theory is a theory for explaining human behavior in a way that increases our intrinsic motivation, our motivation from the inside, our own self-regulation, and our own well-being. And why is that important? Because when we make our behavior more self-determined, it's going to increase our likelihood for success because of what our friend Blaise Pascal just said. When we come up with our own solutions, we're much more likely to buy into them than when someone else comes to us and says, here's my advice. So operating from self-determination theory in positive psychology coaching means that we believe that, as we said earlier, you're the expert on your life. You're the one who gets to set the agenda every single time we meet. And we are just there to support and come alongside and ask the right questions that will get you to create what you want out of life. A couple more analogies. I love this one with the man inside the jar. And here's a quote. It's hard to read the label when you're stuck inside the jar, right? If you're inside the jar, you don't know what you are. Like, is there a label out there that says I'm pasta sauce? Am I dill pickles? I'm in here. I can't figure it out, right? But a coach is outside the jar. We can read the label and we can help you to better understand what's happening inside that jar. Can't see the forest for the trees. That's another analogy, right? You're in that deep forest and it's hard to distinguish what the paths are, but the coach is outside of the forest. So we can ask questions that will help you make decisions to guide yourself out of that forest. So why should someone seek a coach? Who are these people who are trying to hire life coaches? Well, here's a great quote from a master certified life coach, Marianne Johnstone. Why hire a life coach? If you don't already have a coach, you may be wondering what the heck they are good for. Or perhaps you're considering hiring a coach, but you're unsure if they can really help you with your unique situation. Here are the top 6 reasons to hire a life coach. So why should we hire a life coach? Something wonderful happened. Maybe you're thinking, I have this great opportunity and I don't want to squander it. I need a coach to help me take advantage of it. Or something terrible happened. Oh no, I wasn't expecting this. How am I going to cope with this? A life coach can help you. Nothing is happening. When are things going to change? I need something to serve as a catalyst to get me out of this stuck place. Or how do I make it happen? Maybe you have this great idea for a book that's just been burning in your heart for a long time. You just can't figure out the steps to make it happen. A coach can come alongside you in that circumstance. Or what the heck is happening? I can't figure this out. I need help making sense of this situation. A coach can come in handy then. And finally, now what happens? So I took the big leap. I started writing the book. I don't know what to do next. A coach can help you with all of those situations. And if you look at those, I think that pretty much covers everything that could happen in life, right? So a coach can help with just about anything. So what do you want to look for if you are thinking of hiring a coach? The number one thing, without a doubt, that you need to look for is connection. There has to be a level of trust and safety between you and your coach. It is a confidential relationship and I consider it a sacred relationship. So that's absolutely bottom line. Building from there, someone who has certification. The program that I'm in is 175 hours. And in addition to this coaching program, I'm also certified as an applied positive psychology practitioner, which makes me an applied positive psychology coach. That someone who's credentialed, accredited by Coaching Foundation, training, testing, there, and it's using an evidence that science and research are applied. And I just got a message that my internet was unstable again. Hope I'm back. Here on the screen, you can see this is the most recent data, and it is from 2020. Currently, these are the numbers of coaches there are in the world. The level that I will start out at, that everybody starts at, is the Associate Certified Coaches. My teacher, Emilia Zvoditskaya, is an MCC level, the 4% of the world that reaches that level. She's one of those aspirations. All right, so let's now start to kind of wind down by just talking about basic coaching skills that everybody can use. I want to give you a picture of what a coaching session might look like. This is a really simplified form that we can use sometimes when we coach. The GROW model stands for goals, reality, options, and the way forward. And you can see here on the screen some things that we might ask to establish what each one of those is for you. What's your goal? What's the reality? What's the current situation? What are the options? And then what's the way forward? And by asking these questions, we allow you as the client to come up with your own solutions that will take you to the place you want to be in life. What I want to do next is teach you how to coach yourself. I'm going to teach you how to Ted Lasso yourself. Believe. So I'm going to use the acronym WHOOP to do this. And yes, I do have an open can there on the screen. So I will let you go ahead and finish this analogy if you would like to. You can open up a can and whoop yourself. The whoop analogy stands for wish, outcome, obstacle, and plan. So what I'd like for you to do right now is let's actually take a moment and go through this together. So if you don't mind, it's just going to take a couple of minutes and I'm going to lead you through this whoop model. So what I want you to do right now is just think about one goal that you have in your life, one thing that you would like to change, something you would like to achieve. And I would actually like to ask you to just close your eyes. I want you to think about that goal that you would like to accomplish. What is the situation? And then I want you to think, what would be the ideal situation? What if it all worked out? I want you to take that thought. I want you to put it in your mind's eye and just hold it there. And phrase this wish in the positive. For example, if you're thinking that exercise is something you would like to change in your life, rather than phrasing it, I want to stop being so lazy, I want you to phrase it, I want to be as healthy as I possibly can be. So whatever this wish is, take a moment and just hold it in your mind's eye. And keep your eyes closed as we move into the first O, which is the outcome. And now I want you to experience this as if your wish was fulfilled. Imagine that this wish has come true. You've achieved that goal. And I want you to answer these questions as we create this sensory experience. What will you see when this wish is fulfilled? What will you hear? Go ahead and imagine those sounds. What are you going to feel? That can be actual touch sensation, or it can be emotionally. How are you going to feel when that wish is fulfilled? What will you be doing? And most importantly, I want you to think of who will you be when you get the outcome of this wish. And I want you to hold this picture in your mind as vividly as possible, as if this wish has been fulfilled. Now the next level is an obstacle. So I want you to think, what is it that is stopping you now from achieving that wish, from achieving that goal? And I want you to think of the inward ways that we get in our own way. Is there an internal obstacle that prevents you? What's the belief the thought, the emotion, behavior, the habit that prevents you from getting there. Now I want you to imagine encountering this obstacle. What will you see? What will you feel? What will you hear? And imagine that as vividly as possible. So using the exercise example, if I said I want to be as healthy as I could be, the picture in my mind's eye might be with a healthy body that feels exactly the way I want to feel. I feel strong. I feel like I'm able to do everything I want to do with this body. So what's the obstacle? Maybe you say, I wake up in the morning and I don't want to do it. I get up in the morning, I'm tired and I'm grouchy, and I don't want to go exercise. So now imagining that obstacle, as vividly as possible. What is stopping us? And the last part of our whoop is to make a plan. We need to think about when and where that obstacle shows up and think of an action that you can do to overcome or circumvent it. And we're going to create an if-then plan. So back with the exercise, you've identified your wish. You've identified your wish, you've identified your obstacle. Now create an if-then occurs. Then I will perform Y behavior to overcome that obstacle. Now, just imagine you as vividly as possible, holding that picture in your mind of you implementing that plan. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we open up a can of whoop. If you want to know more, there's a great website called Whoop My Life. There's even an app that you can download to use. But I'm curious, is there anybody who would be willing to share their experience with that thought experiment we just did? You certainly don't have to, but if anybody did discover a wish and make a plan and you're brave enough to share, I would love to open up the floor and create a space for you to do that. Feel free to just unmute your mic, or you can raise your hand, or however you want to signal us.
Hi, Gayla.
Hello. Hi, Jen.
So I admit that I am multitasking. So I went along with your example because it is actually pretty relevant. And I think that reframing it like that is really helpful to remind, like, it's not about a number on a scale or something. It's about the way that you feel strong enough to do everything that you want to do. And I think that's a really good way. It helps me to remember, the why. And it seems like that's what a lot of the this coaching model that you're sharing with us is about, is like remembering, why you set certain goals, because then it gets less insurmountable. So thank you for walking us through that.
Alrighty, no worries. So this is our time when I just open up the floor to some Q&A. If there's anything that you've been thinking of during this short presentation that you're like, just wonder about this. How does this part work? This is the time. Let us know. And feel free just to unmute. I'm going to stop sharing for the moment. And just say, anybody have any questions or anything that you would like to get clarified? If not, that's wonderful, because that means that I answered all of your potential questions.
I have a question for you, Gayla. Oh, go ahead.
Yes, several people. Go right ahead. Whoever wants to talk. I think we had a couple people pop in at the same time. So whoever wants to try it out, go ahead.
Okay, I'll go. My question is kind of straightforward. I was wondering, how long do typical sessions last?
That is an excellent question. Thank you, Jen. Typical sessions are 50 minutes. And if you use the QR code, it will take you to something that I have called a one-pager. And it does kind of describe the typical session along with rates and things like that. So that's a great question. And I want to add that these sessions are done via Zoom or via a phone. So you're in the comfort of your home, I'm in the comfort of my home. And if we want to be able to see each other, then we can use Zoom. Sometimes we're more comfortable just hearing someone's voice, and in that case, we can use the phone. Anything else anybody's wondering about?
Ayla, this is Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Hi. Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering about the obstacle part. I can see where that would be that could get to be very challenging, and I would think that maybe, and I don't know what your experience is on when you work with folks, that some of those thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and so forth, that those might lead back to.
Oh, I think you just accidentally muted yourself, Michael.
Sorry. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
That I would think that some of those, thought, belief, emotion, behavior, those kinds of things could lead back to perhaps the person needing a more therapeutic relationship with someone.
Yeah, that's a really good
Would that
point.
be true?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes we're surprised at what comes up. Like, oh, wow, I haven't thought about that in years. And now I'm relating it to this thing that happened with my mom, right? Like, that's going to happen. I think the difference is if something like that happened and I really felt like my client needs to deal with that thing that happened in the past, then I'm going to encourage them to go ahead and seek therapy and get some clarity on that thing in their past. If it's something like, what I'm thinking now is this thing happened in my past and that's why I trigger and that's why I can't move forward, then coaching can still help you think through how that particular obstacle is getting in your way. It's not going to resolve that issue. That's really something that you need to do with a therapist, but it still can help you go forward even with that obstacle, because oftentimes it is our own beliefs, emotions, our own behaviors, habits, thoughts that trip us up. And if we want to figure out why, that's definitely therapist area. If we say, I know this is something that is really tricky for me, but I want to figure out how to overcome it and move forward, then we can still handle that in coaching.
Sure.
It's a really great question, Michael. Thank you so much.
Yeah, because I can certainly see where the wish and the outcome, would kind of help set that path, and then you hit this obstacle, but that doesn't mean you give up your goal or your what the outcome is going to look like. That's true.
And I think we all bring to the table all of that stuff from our past. It just kind of becomes, have I dealt with it enough that I'm in a place I can be healthy and move forward? Or is this going to be something that I need to go back and really deal with before I can move forward? Excellent. Caroline has a thought here in chat. Are sessions generally centered around a life goal? Not always. They are really centered around anything that is coming up for you. It can literally be, one time I got coaching because, I got deported from Hawaii and it was traumatizing, okay? Many of you on this call know this story. And the next time I was going to fly, I was really kind of freaking out about it. Like, do I have all my ducks in a row? Am I going to get kicked out of Hawaii again? It's a long story. And so I got coaching in class about that, about how, am I believing these thoughts? What's my obstacle here? Am I really buying into this thought? And it does kind of go back, like, what's my trigger for that? Okay, once I see that trigger coming up, what can I do to make my plan to avoid it? So really, it can be coaching on literally anything that, any stuck place. Generally, I think coaching any kind of stuck place where you feel like, ugh, I keep running into this wall and I'm not sure what to do. That can be something that coaching can help with. Yeah. Any other thoughts or comments or questions? Yeah, Jennifer's thought there in the chat box. I could see how coaching could help someone who would benefit from therapy to make the call. Definitely. You may think, oh, I just need some coaching. And then you get into coaching and you realize, oh, this is going much deeper than I realized. And then you can realize, like, yeah, coaching isn't really what I need. I actually need to seek therapy. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I just want to thank you all again. I'm going to drop into chat this link to sign up. If you are here and you think, I don't need coaching, but I know someone who might be curious about it, make a note of that in that Google Doc. And then I will get in touch with you. And if you want to then connect me with that person, then we can definitely go from there. Once again, I'm going to put my QR code up here on the screen. This QR code will take you to, as I said, my link tree. And on there, you will find the sign up for a free session link and also ways to follow me online to learn more about positive psychology and more about coaching. You'll also find my one pager on that link tree, and that will tell you more about rates and a little bit more about what actual coaching sessions might look like. So once again, I am so appreciative to all of you who took your time to show up here today. I'm so appreciative of all of you because I know we all have busy lives and you made time in your busy life for me. And I just am so appreciative of that. So with that, I'll wrap you up and I'm going to stop the recording. And once again, thank you all for coming.